this, or I suppose I should have waited till we read some of the early precursors of Zionism. But since we've done it like this, let's have done with this, and then we'll go over to the precursors next time, okay? So look here, the Dreyfus event. We're way ahead of ourselves, but I can tell you a little bit about it. We have a selection here, of course, from Dreyfus's own discussion of his life. But what happened was, Dreyfus was one of the few Jewish individuals who were on the French general staff. And in fact, Dreyfus is probably a Sephardi name, not an Ashkenazi name. So it'd be probably from an older Sephardi family, perhaps. Here we have some selections in here from his autobiography, how, the story of his life. I don't know if we have time to read all that. And something from his diary that he kept on Devil's Island when they sent him off, I think, or before they sent him off. And then I guess we have some more from the diary here. In 1895, I think that would be about the trial period, and then after his return from Devil's Island in 1899. But the main document that we have here, which is really interesting, is Emile Zola's J'accuse. And now, this is what turned the tide in the whole affair in France. What was happening in France at this time, and I'll get to it in a minute, was that the whole country was being turned into what were called Dreyfusards and anti-Dreyfusards. I'm trying to get a date out of this introduction when actually the first hint of this affair began. But maybe it's in his autobiography here. I guess 1894, somewhere around that time, because he starts part 2 of his autobiography in 1894, and that's when things seem to go downhill. And he even gives 1895 on page 96. The degradation took place on Saturday, the 5th of January, 1895. So he came onto the general staff, if you like, around the year 1893 or so. So the dates here, pay attention to, for Dreyfus. And by the way, I was going to show a movie in this class, but I'm going to have time for Prisoner of Hope. You can get it at the video store, or sometimes it's on the cable channels. It's I think even produced by Richard Dreyfus. And funnily enough, Richard Dreyfus is a distant relative of this Alfred Dreyfus. I think Richard Dreyfus, the actor, was originally Canadian, but he's a distant relative of Alfred Dreyfus, and he produced this movie where he doesn't star as Alfred Dreyfus, he stars as the French officer who finally gave testimony to save Dreyfus from Devil's Island ultimately and bring him back. The officer who actually stayed true to the nobility of French military tradition. I forget what his name was, but he's probably mentioned in Zola. France had fought a devastating war with Prussia, Germany, what we would call now, but Germany wasn't really a total entity at that time. Do any of you know what Prussia is as opposed to Germany? It doesn't exist anymore, Prussia, but it's a province of Germany.
It's in Poland.
It's on the edge, yeah. It's next to Poland. It's the German part, which is part of Poland now to some extent, and part of Germany. It's all mixed up, but it was then in the Polish area and the German area of the eastern part of Germany, right? It was a very military sort of place, very military sort of place with a very military king. And, I forget what the early Prussian rulers were called. But slowly, you know, Germany was went into a process of unification in the 19th century, and the big moving force behind this was Bismarck, Count Bismarck, and he was the, I think, chief cabinet official of the Prussian king. And, you know, he's well known for the slogan, Blut und Eisen. You know, we do these things through blood and iron, which is what the Germans were really involved in until the present day Germany is almost unrecognizable compared to the Germany of the past, which is hopefully will stay that way. But Germans are extremely peace-loving and very orderly, and they don't seem violent at all anymore. Though East Germany is a serious problem. You were mentioning that. Prussia is right next to that. And because they didn't undergo this gentrification, as it were. And a lot of the Nazi sort of grassroots ideology is still floating around in what was formerly communist East Germany. So the reunification of Germany that we all celebrated, for Germany itself was not necessarily a wonderful thing. Maybe it was nice for the fact that they could bring the people who were German and they felt a kinship of some kind of language with together, but it's been a difficult thing for them. And East Germany does not have the cultural sophistication of West Germany even today. And there's a lot of thugism in East Germany, quasi-Nazism actually. So the Russians, you know, did nothing with East Germany except control and suppress it for the 40 or 50 years they were there. So that's not a very pleasant situation. But anyway, in the Franco-Prussian War, the early 1870s, I think 1871 or so, it was fought in the aftermath of the American Civil War and similar to it, and it was a pretty lightning sort of war. And the German military machine just trounced the French military machine and even took Paris. And there was this commune in Paris that revolted and stood up against the Germans. It was a total mess. I'm not a great expert on this period, but it left a horrendous taste in the mouth of the French, a kind of revenge.